with the oil industry, the legacy lawsuits, but then there's a lawsuit down in southeast Louisiana with the Levee District. And that's the one that Jim's talking about, dealing with, say, the legislature trying to stop that lawsuit that was filed. I'm just wondering, how much, how much does the oil and gas industry, what are the likelihood or probabilities that they might be able to stop that lawsuit?
Let me jump in first, and then Jim, if you could follow me, because Steve, this is actually a topic that I've spent a fair amount of time working on the past week, because I'm writing a very lengthy profile of a guy that Jim knows, and that's State Senator Robert Adley. The reason I'm writing a piece for The Lens about Robert Adley is he is the main driver within the legislature of the effort to kill the lawsuit filed by the Levee District here in the New Orleans area. And Adley has several bills. They may be heard in his committee on Wednesday for the first time. But again, Jim, you can speak to your own experience with Robert Adley. But I've talked to a lot of people about him and spent time with Senator Adley in recent days, and he seems to be a very capable guy. But there's been no votes taken yet to gauge exactly how this effort will whether it will proceed or not. But Jim certainly has a historical knowledge of the power of the industry within the legislature in Baton Rouge.
I think it's unprecedented that the legislature would try to pass laws to stop an existing lawsuit, an ongoing lawsuit. We've got 3 branches of government, and we have a chance to get recompensation or air your grievances before the courts if you think the legislation is wrong or there's been damage done. And that's how it's been traditional in this state and every state in this country. And I can't remember going back when the legislature took action to stop a legal action in the courts. Oil industry is very, very strong in this state. I'll tell you what, though, I've seen some recent polls showing that the average voter out there is very much in favor of holding oil companies that do the damage. You know, you've got some, just like in anything else, you got good eggs and bad eggs. You've got some very responsible oil companies that have cleaned up after their damage. You've got others who have not. And there are some problems in the litigation because there might have been damage done 30 years ago. We can't find those people anymore. They've gone bankrupt. So it's a very complicated issue of cleaning up. I just think it's unprecedented that the legislature would try to stop ongoing litigation, whether it's fair or not. That's what the court should work out in terms of who's responsible. So, and I don't think it's a good political issue, too, quite frankly. I'll have to give this projection way out front. I think this litigation is going to be a very key issue in this 6th District congressional race. And if you come out and say you're for the oil companies, you don't have a shot of getting close in terms of this election. So it's a complicated issue, but and let's go back to Adley. Let me explain. I think Robert Adley's a first-rate legislator, but he's very much involved in the oil business. He's become their boy, if you will. So it's going to be if they can do this in this issue, does it mean that every year when certain legislators don't like litigation going on, they're going to try to wipe it out through legislation? I think that's a dangerous precedent to begin going on, quite frankly.
You know, I'm very surprised that you're Jim, that you said that the 6th District that they're opposed to the legislation. I mean, you have oil companies, establishments going up the river. So isn't that the 6th District in part, or?
It is, but I think it's a question of looking at the damage being done. You go down to Lafourche, coming on up the river, over in Laplace. All of those areas have had massive flooding, and I think those people are convinced that part of the flooding is due to the various canals done by oil companies, and there's been no mitigation. You know, you're right, the oil companies are very strong, but you've got oil service groups, and you've got a cross-section of other groups there that are not part of the problem. And so I think it's just the basic premise that, look, if you injure or damage something or someone, you need to clean up the mess that you made. That's just basic to our law system. So, and I've seen some recent polls, quite frankly. The issue is overwhelming against the oil companies in terms of their responsibility. Not beating up on them, not penalizing them, but if you individually cause damage, you got to clean up your damage. You got to make recompense. And that's going to be a strong issue, I think, Steve.
What about the session?
Steve, can I ask Jim a question?
Sure.
Jim, you said that you thought that any candidate with the oil companies would not advance in that 6th congressional district, which is centered on Baton Rouge. Well, Garrett Graves, who was the chairman of the governor's effort to rebuild the coast, has been one of the leading critics of that levee board lawsuit. So are you suggesting that you don't think he'll advance as a candidate?
I think he's got the albatross around his neck of being the guy that was supposed to be confecting the plan to clean up and try to straighten out and deal with coastal problems. Now all of a sudden he's on the other side of the issue. It's going to be a tough issue for him to defend, quite frankly, and what looked like a bright beginning for him may cause him some problems down the line. He's going to find out a way to explain that to people that want very solid, simple solutions, and it's a tough issue to make simple, and so I think that's going to be a real Achilles heel for him, yes.
Let's just talk a second about the lawsuits. One of the things I'm seeing is LABI, Louisiana Business Industry. Basically, they're taking some really big stands. We have a new president, CEO, in terms of Stephen Waguespack, and their position is that, number one, on that lawsuit, that we have greedy attorneys, greedy trial attorneys, and so that they're basically surrogates, as far as I'm concerned, for Bobby Jindal on that. That was Jindal's phrase, the greedy trial attorneys. And secondly, the other big issue for LABI is the jury trials. What they want to do is they want to reduce the threshold. My question about that issue is, from what I remember back in the 80s with Dan Juneau, I think they were the ones who actually wanted to raise the threshold, and now they're saying they want to lower it. They wanted to raise it because they thought they were getting socked by these quote runaway juries. So I'm just kind of confused. My head's spinning on all this.
Well, I can answer that. I'm a lawyer. I don't practice anymore, but I practiced for many, many years. The knock is that a jury, if you are being sued, that the knock on the change is that you can wear down the plaintiff. You got a plaintiff that say he's been injured in the case of the oil companies or some other issue, and they file suit. If you have a jury trial, it takes a lot longer. You can find all kinds of reasons to cause delays. Or if it goes before a judge and both sides agree it should go before the judge, it's just a simpler lawsuit. It moves on a lot quicker. And you're right, LABI was all for the simplicity of the judge ruling on anything up to $50,000 unless both sides wanted it. Both sides asked for a jury trial. You can have it for $10, quite frankly. Well, now LABI, as you said, has switched. My friend C.B. Ferguson, who's been a big critic of the governor, says their name is not LABI anymore, it's JABI.
JABI, yes.
The Jindal, with Jindal, kind of because Mr. Waguespack came from Jindal, and that there's a LABI is merely an extension of the governor. That I'm not sure how fair that is, but it's just the knockout there. So,
okay, let me interrupt and just say, look, I interviewed Waguespack when he first took the job, and I have not seen one thing, not one thing, where he differs from the governor. In fact, when the governor comes out with something, say once a week or once every 2 weeks, that he's taking a stand, Waguespack writes about it in the same issue in favor of it. The only thing that I see a little wobbly is Common Core. LABI is strongly in favor of Common Core. Jindal has been a little squishy, it seems, only because the conservatives have taken issue with it. Other than that, I mean, you know, I totally agree. I totally agree with CB Ferguson on this. You know, it's a jobby, you know, and they're doing a jobby on Louisiana.
Well,
I don't have an opinion one way or the other on that. The only thing I would point out, though, is that, you know, Stephen Waguespack works for somebody. He works for the board of LABI, and if he pulls the organization, which has, you know, been very powerful in recent years under Dan Juneau, his predecessor, that if Waguespack pulls the organization too far, one would presume that the board would rein him in, unless the board wants him to go in that direction.
Well, all I do is, Steve, is point out what you said. Dan Juneau, I don't know of a governor that Dan Juneau didn't differ with on some key issues, including Bobby Jindal. Now it's early. Waguespack's not been there that long, and maybe that's going to change. But right now, it looks like LABI or Jobby, as we joke about, is a rubber stamp for the Jindal agenda. And unfortunately, that agenda doesn't seem to be set by Jindal. It's set by the second level people around him, because Jindal's not around. So again, the confusion of who's in charge, what the agenda is causing some real ups and downs in the legislature right now.
Okay, let's switch gears for a second and talk about the 6th Congressional District. Last week we had a hangout and a webcast on, and basically what we talked about was Edwin Edwards. And I attended the event this past week dealing with Edwards and Blanco and Romer. And there's no question in my mind, Edwards is, I mean, he's probably lost a little bit in terms because of his age, but boy, is he sharp. And I told him that personally, and it's, my statement is up on Bayou Buzz in the interview I did with him. Although I still have a real question as to whether he can win. I asked him about that, whether or not, and he says, well, you know, you got to be foolish to enter a race if you think that maybe you can't win. Now, Jim, I know that you're close with Edwards. You're the publisher of the biography, and I'm just wondering, you know, what are you hearing at this point in time regarding Edwards and his congressional run?
Well, I don't talk to the governor about his campaign. I've been an observer, as you said, and published the biography through my publishing company. That's been the biggest selling book in the history of Louisiana. In fact, with his announcement, there's been a big push for more books, and I'm tickled to death about that. Edwards, he is giving some pretty decent answers. I mean, you raised the question about age. Seniority used to be so important in Washington, D.C. You sat there and paid your dues, and after 10 or 15 years, maybe the chairman of the committee you're on would even know your name. That's changed a whole lot. You look at the three key leading Republican candidates for president in this country today. They're all young senators who've only been there a couple of years. You've got Rand Paul, that's leading most of the polls right now. You've got Marco Rubio, and you've got Ted Cruz over in Texas. They're new kids on the block, and they made an immediate impact. So Edwards will tell you that they've made that kind of impact. They are senators, number one. So as far as the age thing, you deal there with that problem. I think that Edwards has got a pretty good message of reaching across the aisle. People just are sick and tired of the Republic can'ts and the demo don'ts, is what I'm finding, Steve. And so his message is, look, he worked across the aisle. If the Republicans are right, he's going to work with them. If the Democrats are right, he's going to work with them. So on message, I think he starts off pretty well. The overriding issue is, will voters be so turned off because of his reputation, the conviction, and that kind of thing, that they just can't vote for him? And so what I think is going to happen is Edwards gets into the runoff. He's going to have a pretty solid, locked-in 42 to 45% vote in any runoff situation. And can he find a way to make 4 or 5% more of the people say, look, I'm going to hold my nose and vote for Edwin Edwards? And so that's the challenge he has, and it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge.
Tyler?
Yeah, it was we talked about in our last hangout. The district was set up to elect a Republican. That's what the Louisiana legislature did. And in 2010, in those same boundaries of that district, when David Vitter faced Representative Charlie Melanson for the Senate election, Vitter won about 63% of that vote. And so that's kind of the Republican performance. And also McCain won that district in 2008, and with over 60% of the vote, and so did Mitt Romney in 2012 against Barack Obama. So, but Jim also, I thought, made a very interesting point in last week in the hangout, which is that maybe the Republicans beat up on each other so much that their candidate is bruised and battered going into the runoff. But I think any analysis of the district, you have to say that it's for Edwin Edwards to win would be a pretty big upset.
Except, and I would agree with Tyler on that, Steve, except that when you go down the bayou, for example, there's a heavy vote in South Louisiana. Well, the fact that this colorful Cajun, who an awful lot of those people loved and voted for many, many times, will that, I don't want to say rock star, but Edwards has a persona that's bigger than life that really gets people excited. They may not vote for him, but they love to talk to him. They think he's funny. He captivates a crowd. Can that energy that no other Democrat can express, can that overcome the difference that Tyler just explained? Can you get enough folks down that way? It's a Republican district, but actually it's about 50-50 in terms of registration, Republican and Democrat. Now, many of those Democrats vote Republican. They do, though, year after year. Can he turn those votes around? And the other thing, and Tyler referred to our comments last week, if you get kind of a beat-up Republican in that race, then Edwards is not going to spend any money in the first primary. He's going to have all his money left for the runoff. And you may have a Republican who really hasn't defined him or herself, that they're there, they slipped in, but to the average voters, they were one of many who were running to make the runoff spot. Can Edwards' money then define that candidate in a very negative way? So if Edwards is going to spend $1 million, $2 million beating up on that Republican, will that have the effect? And it's such a we can't go back in history and look at many examples like this. You don't have someone with the age factor with Edwards, with his conviction, all those things involved. Can he gel with a number of those votes? And that's something that the political prognosticators, the consultants, and the pollsters have still not come to any conclusion on.
If I could just make an additional comment, I'd point out that it's been 23 years since Edwin Edwards last ran for political office, and that's an awfully long time. And some of those very strong Edwards supporters who remember him particularly from the 70s, many of them have passed on, and so there'll be a number of voters in that district who do not know Edwin Edwards. Maybe their parents will tell them about Edwin Edwards, but I have to say, for a guy who has not run in 23 years and then spent 8.5 years in federal prison, and Steve, you saw him live the other night, there does not seem to be a lot of rust.
No, I mean, the guy basically had the entire crowd in his hands, and I really mean it. So, I mean, he was so funny. The interview was up on the actual. What we did was we took an audio and put up his quips. Now, this is not an endorsement of Edwards. I have a real issue, with him. But as if he doesn't make it as a congressman, I think there's still a role for him as a talk show host. Jimmy Fallon, watch out.
That's the other thing I'll mention is Tyler talked about that so many of his older supporters dying out. I don't know of any other candidates that are tweeting every day, that have an aggressive Facebook page where videos are posted on it already. If you go to Edwards and look at his Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, his Instagram account, pictures are going up. So any of your viewers out there watching us, they ought to check out some of those accounts. He's doing more in the social media than all the other candidates put together right now. So
well, his wife is, and I thought that was really interesting. I asked her, well, who's running the campaign? And she said that she is. So I find that amazing.
Well,
I mean, she has no experience. I'm not saying she's not capable, but why is Edwards, who is in this, I mean, this is his last hurrah, I guess, and why is he going to leave it up to his wife, who has no political experience at all?
well, I think when they're kicking off this early stage, she's playing a major role. I know I've talked to several consultants who say that they've been interviewed by the governor for media, for being the overall campaign manager, for fundraising, and so I think look, that guy's been around the block a few times, and I don't know. Look, I've spent in my short political life, well, long political life, but I've spent $8 to $10 million in running for public office. If I spent 8 to 10, Edwin Edwards has had to spend $40 or $50 million. So this guy ain't no novice when it comes to knowing the importance of having solid consultants to get you elected. He's done
Sure.
so. And I think he's going to have a first-rate team out there that actually, right now, he's sitting back and raising money and watching the other fellas all fight for a runoff spot. That's really all he has to do, and then go make appearances. He doesn't need to beg people to get him known and have introduction videos. By the way, if you go to his Facebook page, you'll see a very professional video. Trina Edwards did not do that video. He's already got somebody doing some first-rate video work for him to put up that kind of things on Facebook. He's way ahead of the game of the other candidates at this stage.